Ladies and gentlemen, we've just received a news report. This was posted June 6th, 2024. Neuroimaging in video games, they've done a study on Starcraft 2 gamers, and these are the results. They explored the impact of real-time strategy video games on brain connectivity. They found that extensive gameplay, specifically in RTS game Starcraft 2, is associated with significant differences in the brain's structural and functional connectivity. The findings have been published in the journal Neuroimage. They're an essential part of modern culture. They affect various fields. RTS games require a player to manage resources, build bases, engage in strategic combat, and provide a rich environment for studying brain plasticity. Wow. They wanted to study video games on the brain, but like a really tough one, and they're like, StarCraft 2, let's just do that. What did they find? Previous research showed that such games can lead to structural changes, but the mechanisms behind these changes and their functional implications were unclear. The new study aimed to bridge this gap by using advanced brain modeling techniques to explore how video game expertise affects brain connectivity and cognitive functions. Our main interest was to study how expertise can shape the way that the brain is wired, from plasticity mechanisms. That is not exclusively from video games, but also from music, dance, and any other discipline. So by engaging yourself in a discipline, you exercise your brain in a lot of ways that make it more robust and fast. Because it's been put under pressure, your brain has had to do a lot of stuff. You're basically jumping through mental hoops and obstacles and challenges whenever you're playing a video game or doing a physical sport, IRL. Wow. Pretty cool. Why video games? One way to stimulate neuroplasticity is to play video games. In games, the level of involvement is adjusted to the level of tasks performed. When we win, we move to a higher level, and we have to learn new competences. That's true. You rank up and it gets harder. This is how new challenges are created and motivate players to develop the necessary skills, and at the same time our brain to achieve the goal, that is winning the game. Wow. You can play for hours and not get bored. True. This study involved 62 right-handed male participants divided into two groups. The first group was 31 experienced StarCraft 2 players who played RTS for at least 6 hours per week over the past 6 months. To ensure their game experience was substantial, they had to play StarCraft for more than 60% of their gaming time and were active in competitive play. I'm guessing that would maybe count as ranked ladder or maybe tournaments. I don't know if they explain that. The second group consisted of 31 non-video game players with minimal gaming experience, having less than 6 hours of RTS gaming and less than 8 hours of total video gaming per week in the last 6 months. Damn, that's pretty cool. They got just a chunk of competitive StarCraft 2 people to get tested, and then just some non-gamer people. Wow. StarCraft people are pretty strong. StarCraft makes you mentally powerful? News at 11? All participants underwent comprehensive brain imaging using 3 Tesla MRI scanner. The imaging protocols included T1 weighted anatomical scans and diffusion weighted imaging to assess brain structure. The researchers employed advanced diffusion tensor imaging techniques to create detailed maps of the participants' brain connectivity, focusing on white matter pathways. Additionally, the study utilized fMRI from the Human Connectome project to provide a basic baseline for comparing functional connectivity patterns. So they're basically just looking at the shapes of the brain cells and the number of connections. Whenever a cell fires, there's an electrical signal that goes, and there's also blood flow that goes. So you can basically see what regions of the brain are being used by the concentration of electrical signals or blood flow. And these are apparently the latest and greatest, or at least high-level scanning technologies for the brain. It is difficult to study the brain overall because it's encased in its skull, so really cool that we have these technologies now to look at this stuff. The researchers found that StarCraft 2 players exhibited increased connectivity within specific brain regions. These regions included the parieto-occipital and frontoparietal networks, which are critical for visual attention, reasoning, and motor control. Okay, so in StarCraft, you do have to manage where your camera is. That's visual attention. Reasoning, that's what your plan is, what your strategy is, how you're reacting to your opponent. And motor control, that's mechanics. Awesome. The enhanced connectivity suggests that extensive gameplay leads to improved communication between these areas, facilitating better cognitive performance. The brains of video game players showed that a shift toward a more locally integrated network organization. The shift was characterized by higher function segregation, which is local connectivity, and lower global efficiency, that is integration. This means the brains of gamers were more specialized in processing task-relevant information due to the cognitive demands of playing RTS. Task-relevant information. So whenever you're playing Starcraft, you have to basically choose which thing you have to focus on next in every given moment, and you have another human player who's trying to mess you up constantly with that. So it definitely puts the brain under multiple fronts of stress at the same time. Our first idea is that expertise, that is video game expertise, will produce an increase in functional integration, that is a more globally connected brain topology. So that's just more regions of your brain are more connected to each other because they have to work together more often. That's the thing with how brain neuroplasticity exists in general, which is it is always trying to reshape to the most efficient travel paths for the different like firing networks that happen at a certain time. Whenever you do certain things, the same set of cells will all be lighting up again because they kind of know each other and they help each other accomplish the same goal. Which means whenever you ever try to do new stuff, sometimes you'll try and fail to really think about what to do or have a good plan. But as you fail, your brain will continue to try new stuff, which is basically the neurons changing their tangling between each other. And smarter brains are going to be tangling and finding the most efficient linkages than less intelligent brains. That's cool. So you can do brain exercise with Starcraft, and it does give you better connections. Okay, that was their first idea, but they found the opposite. The brain was more locally connected. They refer to this as mesoscale integration. The connectivity was higher and more efficient just in the networks that are involved in skills related to Starcraft 2, such as networks related to attention, memory, and inference. Interesting. So it had more localized areas. Maybe that's because it causes us in Starcraft to put certain processes on like an autopilot in the back of your mind, and then it becomes more muscle memory. I'm not sure. It's an interesting find. When subjugated to external noisy stimulation in the computational model, the brains of video game players demonstrated greater resilience compared to non-players. Noisy stimulation in a computational model. And the gamers were more resilient. Yeah, because as gamers in RTS, we have to deal with a lot of bullshit, so that makes sense that we would be able to deal with some shit if we're getting a noisy stimulation thing. That's what our opponent is doing to us. They're like attacking us with stuff, and they're also talking shit to us at the same time. This indicates that video game training enhances the brain's ability to filter out irrelevant information and maintain effective communication between regions. Cool. They used a meta-analysis tool called Neuro, correlated increased connectivity in players with specific cognitive functions. With the gamers that had higher cognitive skills such as reasoning, inference, and attention, this suggests that the cognitive demands of playing RTS games may directly enhance these abilities. Sweet. Core set of structural connections in the brain were primarily responsible. Parieto-occipital and frontoparietal regions. I feel like I already said that. They're reiterating. We have two take-home messages. The first one is just practice makes perfect. Expertise in almost any particular discipline can change brain connectivity in a way that makes your brain more efficient in that particular discipline. Makes sense. The second one is that some of the connections that are reshaped by some skills, like playing a musical instrument, professional dancing, and cognitively stimulating activities, are involved in brain aging. So cognitively challenging activities can be used to protect the brain from accelerated aging. You heard it, folks! Game Starcraft today and keep your brain young and fresh. The study provides significant insights. It has limitations. Sample size is small. Only male participants. Cross-sectional nature means it can't establish causality between the gameplay and the brain connectivity. Cool. That is awesome. We have just proven that Starcraft 2 makes your brain very strong. Oh my goodness. Thank you, chat, for checking this out with me. We've proved it once and for all. Starcraft makes you very smart.